I'm Diane Lassus, and in this module, I'm going to talk about the emergency fund, what it is and why it matters. An emergency fund is like a financial safety net designed to cover all your unexpected expenses or surprise expenses. And these expenses can be medical emergencies, losing a job, a car breakdown like a flat tire, a computer meltdown. Computers are so important to us today, or even home repairs. Having an emergency fund is important for maintaining financial stability and ultimately reducing your reliance on debt in times of crisis. This presentation is going to talk about what it is, the importance, and different ways to build an emergency fund. So let's start with what is an emergency fund? It's basically a sum of money set aside to cover those unexpected financial needs. It's recommended that you keep the funds in an easily accessible form. Easily accessible means stored in a savings account or a money market account or somehow available for quick withdrawal without risk to the value. So the key is to start this fund, even if you can only add small amounts to it at a time. So it doesn't matter what the amount is. The fact that you're working on building it is what's important. So you want to keep those dollars separate from other savings and not mixed with long-term investments or any kind of retirement accounts. So let's talk about why an emergency fund is important. The first reason is financial security. Having an emergency fund helps protect against the potential loss of income from job layoffs, car breakdowns, or whatever kind of emergency you might experience. And it helps reduce the financial stress during uncertain times. And that's a really big deal these days. Having an emergency fund to fall back on also helps you avoid having to use credit cards and increasing your debt. And much debt today is very high cost. It can help you prevent reliance on high interest credit cards and personal loans. It also allows individuals to handle unexpected costs without financial strain. Financial stress today is a really big deal for a lot of people. When we're working every day and barely making ends meet, it's important to try to build even a small set-aside fund to be able to deal with those unexpected expenses. And last, an emergency fund can provide that flexibility and some level of peace of mind. When you have an emergency fund, it can give you the confidence in your ability to handle life's uncertainties. It can also prevent disruptions to your financial goals and future plans. So, how much should you save? A basic emergency fund would start with $500 to $1,000 for minor unexpected expenses. That still seems like a lot of money, but the reality is with rising costs and inflation, basic unexpected expenses can be very high. A standard emergency fund, as we look at it, we typically recommend 3 to 6 months worth of essential or basic living expenses. Note that essential was really housing, food, utilities, and any other expense that you have to pay on a monthly basis. An extended emergency fund would be 6 to 12 months expenses for those with irregular income, a job that's potentially at risk, or you have dependents, so your expenses tend to be a little higher. Where would you keep an emergency fund? Well, let's start with high yield savings accounts. The local bank offers a little bit higher interest in those accounts, but they may limit the withdrawals. So you really need to understand what the rules are around any kind of account that you establish. If they limit the number of withdrawals to, 3 per quarter or something like that. You need to understand that so that you're able to work around that. Money market accounts. provides slightly higher returns with some level of liquidity in terms of its easy access to those funds. Strategies to build an emergency fund. Well, let's talk about starting small and increasing gradually. Start with small amounts from income and increase it over time, hopefully as your income increases or as you get control of other expenses. Automate savings. Set up direct transfers from checking accounts timed with deposits to make sure that you're consistently saving. And again, look at your discretionary spending so that maybe you can reduce some of those expenses and allocate those dollars towards your saving. And use windfalls wisely. Allocate tax refunds, bonuses, or unexpected income first to that emergency reserve fund and then to other investments. So the most common mistakes to avoid are not starting at all. Procrastination can lead to financial vulnerability, and that can lead to high debt and other challenges. Using the fund for non-emergencies. You really need to keep it strictly for genuine financial crises. Keeping it in risky investments. Avoid placing emergency funds in stocks or volatile assets where there's a risk of loss of principal. And if you have to take it out at the wrong time or sell something at the wrong time, you risk loss of principal. An emergency fund is an essential component of financial security. By setting aside savings for surprise expenses, you can protect yourself from increasing debt, maintain financial stability, and help you gain peace of mind. Prioritizing establishing an emergency fund today can lead to greater financial resilience in the future. And don't forget to check out page 28 and 29 in the infographic guide to personal finance. Talk to you again soon.